how to get ahead of 99% of people financially. So this is going to, I'm telling y'all, stay out of debt. It's going to be one of these. This is by Gabe, Bult. How to get ahead of 99% of people financially. And I can already tell y'all, get out of debt. Get out of debt, you're going to be ahead of so many people because your net worth going to be zero. There's so many people whose net worth is negative. Mine negative. But it's climbing up to zero. So I am happy about that. I'm very happy about that. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Less than 1% of Americans can afford to retire before the age of 50. Now there's actually a super simple way to beat this statistic. However, simple certainly does not mean easy. In order to get ahead of 99% of people financially, you have to break free from this system that is literally designed to keep you working. And following these 7 principles will put you in the 1%. Wealth begins in our minds and ends in our behavior. Because
alright, so that's the first one. Wealth starts in our mind. Wealth begins in our mind and ends in our behavior. First one. Let's get into it.
Our minds and ends in our behavior. Because our minds are programmed with beliefs that impact our behavior. The system that we are taught in America is to spend everything that you make. Actually, it's to spend more than everything that you make because you need the new car. You won't be successful without that degree. Banks are just dying to lend you money to make all of your dreams come true. And this dream traps you in a cycle of debt. I know that not all debt is bad debt, but I would definitely say that most of it is. You find yourself neck deep in credit card debt, student loans, car payments. The first step before you do anything else has to be to dig yourself out of that hole. And honestly, like the faster the better. You really need to go all in. You also have to believe that you can actually win.
Okay, so number 1 was it begins in the mind and it ends in your behaviors. This is the biggest thing that it hits everyone. It has to begin in your mind. So the first thing is you have to change the way that you think about money. You have to change the way that you interact with money after that. You start usually with your books. You're learning these things. You're learning with them. That's where you start. That's where your mind begins to change about money. But it has to end in your behaviors. So you have to begin implementing these things into your everyday life. You have to change those. You have to create those systems so that things just start. The gears just turn automatically without you. And that's how you change your behavior with these things. But the most important thing is you have to start with your mind. The way you think about money has to change. You have to think about getting out of debt. You have to get the financial literacy to be able to have a credit card, to know how to budget. All those things and above. And then you have to put those things into action because it ends with your behavior. Actually creating your budget, actually sticking to your budget, actually checking your finances every day, actually paying off your debt. You actually have to start putting these things into action. And once you start doing that, things become it becomes easier for you down the road with all these things.
Someone believes that they have cancer, they cannot help but dwell on the fact that they are dying. But on the other hand, if they're told that they don't actually have cancer and what they have is actually curable, they have a whole new sense of hope for their future. The cure for a bad mindset is to replace it with a good one. And the same is really true with money. If you believe that everything is rigged against you, the government and your boss and your job and everything else, then you're always going to struggle because you believe you will. I'm here to tell you that it can be done. No matter your situation, you don't need to earn like the top 1%. I was able to leave my day job like 4 years ago and have an incredible amount of freedom without ever earning all that much money because I knew that there was a path that if I followed would give me freedom, and it did. Educate yourself. Because
okay, so number 2 was believe in yourself. So he kind of just hit the first one and then he went back and added them. It seems like he's adding them in because number 3 is educate yourself. So number 2 is believe in yourself. In this economy, you see, let me go even more personally. When I had student loan debt, I literally seen, okay, it's going to take me 3 years to pay this off at the rate that I'm paying it off. And in that time, while paying it off, I will get increases in my salary, this, that, and this will go here, that'll go there. But it is literally believing that you can do it. Because when you look at that picture, I had like 30,000. It's like, dang, I will never pay that off. That's 3 years of my life. Is it even worth it? But believing it in yourself will be what encourages you to get it done. And also, when you start having smaller financial successes, it helps you believe in yourself because you see that you can do it. You know, sometimes seeing is believing. Sometimes seeing is believing, and that's where the snowball method comes in, and the avalanche method later on. But snowball method is seeing and believing, because you see, I can pay off this debt. I've paid off my smallest debt. It's gone. Holy, oh snap! It is possible. So believing in yourself is definitely a important step, and sometimes seeing is believing. So implementing things and actually seeing the cycle work, it always helps. And then we're going into number 3, which is educate yourself. Let's see.
Because every decision that you make has consequences. Most people make these decisions on impulse because, well, that's what everybody else my age is doing. And that's honestly not a great reason to do anything, especially with your money. Because when 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, you can just assume that everybody that you know is doing the wrong thing and you should do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. It's not good. And right now, we live in an age where knowledge is literally at our fingertips, more than ever in history. So it's really important to invest the time and understand some basic financial knowledge of how to invest and manage your money. Things like why investing as early as possible is so crucial, how buying your home could delay your retirement by 12 years, or make it faster, depends on how you do it. Or even how simple money habits are keeping you from financial freedom. Side note, don't just like watch YouTube videos or read books to feel accomplished. I got stuck in that trap for a while, and it's like the same thing as watching Steph Curry shoot free throws and then expecting to get better at basketball. It's so dumb, but that's what makes us feel like we're doing something. You actually have to practice this stuff and do it for yourself if you ever want to change anything. On a side note,
that's definitely what educating yourself is about. Educating yourself is about getting that book and reading it, but then applying what you got from that into your life. I always love to take about one thing from a book and apply it, because you can't really do a lot more than that. I'm telling you, usually if you're reading a lot of books, when I was reading a book every single day, it's literally like, okay, let me apply one thing and get those gears turned on that, and then go on from there. That way, if I read the book again, I already believe in that 1% a day, you feel me? So now I'm going to get something else from the book the next time. I always just try to take one thing from that and apply it. But the most important part is actually applying what it is to your life, because that's how you're actually going to learn it. You feel me? It's like you can read something every day, but until you put it into action, you don't really understand what it's used for or why you're doing it in the first place. So that's one of the most important things, especially to me, when you're educating yourself, is applying it. That way you can actually learn it in and out in certain things. Like you said, it's a lot of things. And the thing about learning is it takes time. Especially when it comes to finances. And there's so many different ways to get the bag. There's so many ways to cut up the rug, all that stuff, that it can take some time. So take your time, don't feel rushed, and you will learn these things eventually. But taking the first step to educate yourself, applying the knowledge, is what really matters. You can read as many books as you want to read. I'm telling you, you can read as many books as you want to read, but a lot of that stuff is going to go in one ear and out one ear. And when it comes to educating yourself, the best education that I think anybody can ever have is through experience. So make sure that you are experiencing some of those things that you get in books.
If you're spending more money than is necessary on your monthly expenses, just because, no brainer. Control your money, or someone else will.
Number 4, control your money or someone else will. That's what we're going to.
Most of us begin our adult life with little to no money skills. Maybe this is because the education system has failed us, or maybe you're like me and your parents never really talked about money. But regardless, you can only win with money when you take accountability for your decisions. It's like Dave Ramsey says, nobody wins the Super Bowl on accident. You need to make sure that you are in control of your money and it is not in control of you. For a lot of people, a written monthly budget is a really, really good place to start. This is a really good way to just examine where your money is actually going, not where you think it's going. And more importantly, decide where you actually want it to go and controlling where it will go. Pay yourself first.
All right, control your money. This is why, number 100%, you need a budget. If you don't have a budget, you don't know where your money's going. If I just had to redo my budget probably like a month ago. I had to redo my budget. And I really need to find somewhere where my budget is automated 100%. Because I'm just going on okay, I know this is how much money I'm spending. I'm going to have to spend in a month and how much I'm doing. That's literally what I'm going off of. I don't have a 0% budget, which I would love to have, but I need it to be automated. I need my budgets. I love automated budgets. Them is my go-to. But if you don't even have an idea of where your money is going, someone else is in control of your money. I promise you that. If you don't have a budget and you don't know how much is going in, how much is going out, you are just spending your money willy-nilly. You don't know anything about it. You're headed down the wrong road. You're not in control of that money at all. I can tell you that right now. And I've known from sitting down, once you actually have a budget and see where your money is going, you will see who has the most control of your money. Because in college, it wasn't anything good. When I sat down after college and actually had a budget and started trying to have some financial literacy at all, I said, oh snap, I see who has control of my money. Not me. Because it's in somebody else's pocket almost immediately. The amount of money I'm spending, it's not in my pockets. It's not going to me. I'm not doing step number what? That's the next step. I'm not paying myself first at all. It's not going to me. It's going to someone else. Someone else has control of this money. And a lot of my vices have control of this money. It's not me. And by having that budget, I was able to see where my money was going. And it was going to all the wrong places. But by having that budget, I could actually start taking back control of where I was spending my money. So that was definitely one of the biggest things that I'm proud of is just starting at the basics and having a budget.
When most people write out their budget, and what I used to do is like you start with your rent, your utilities, your gas, your food, fund money, and you save whatever is left. But let me ask you, how would you feel if your boss did this? They first made sure that the company's expenses were fully paid. Then they gave you, the employee, whatever was left over, if anything. The reality is, most people overspend even when they do have a budget. What I really recommend is when you make a budget, you start with your investing and your saving at the top of the list. That way, you're not allowed to dip into that portion of your income, and you need to actually adjust your lifestyle and your decisions off of whatever is left. Another tip is to actually set up a percentage of your paycheck to go into a separate bank account that's for savings. I like to use like a high interest savings account like SoFi, so that it's completely separate from your everyday account. It's literally paying yourself first and then living off of whatever you have left. Recognize
that's the biggest thing right there that sets people apart, is if you pay yourself first. Again, that's the biggest thing that separates people, is if you pay yourself first. Where's the first percent of money that goes out to when you get a check? To a lot of people, it's to your barber, it's to pay your rent, it's to pay your light bill. It goes to your shoe guy. It goes to your clothes guy. It goes to your jeweler. It go to Carnival for a cruise. It goes to Delta for a flight. It go to your hotel. It go to your Airbnb. None of those, and for some of y'all, it go to the liquor store. For some of y'all, it go to your drug man. When are you going to put yourself first? When are you finally going to be able to say the first part of my money, of my check, it goes to paying me first? It goes to this asset. The first part of my money, it go to this asset. It go to that asset. Instead of it go to the liquor store. Because it's Friday. It's Friday. It's going to go to the drug man. Because it's Friday. When are you going to finally be able to say, this go to my 401k? That's the first part that go out. This first part go to me paying off my debt. This first part goes to me paying this asset. This first part goes into this business account for my future endeavors. Pay yourself first. And from the richest man in Babylon, they say 10%. I'm at 25%, y'all. 25% of my check goes to paying myself first. $25%. And then you live on afterwards. That makes it easy. I'm telling y'all, it makes it easier when you do it that way. When you spend all your money on other stuff and then you try to save and invest on the back end, it's way more difficult because you set up a lifestyle that you can't afford. When you take out 25% on the front end and you're not even looking at it, you live off that 75% much easier than having a 100% bucket going to spend it on everything else. So you live in a lifestyle of 100% and then you try to put off some at the end. No, do it the other way around. Take your 25% bucket and give it to yourself first, and then you live off that other 75% way more easy. Because that money already gone. It's already gone. It's already put off to the side. That's why I say people who pay yourself first, it sets you apart from other people almost instantly. Almost instantly, you start living different from how everyone else is living.
To assets versus liabilities. Now, if you haven't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, I would highly recommend it. Great starter book. But one of the central themes in Robert Kiyosaki's strategy is understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. His definition is super simple. An asset puts money into your pocket every month, and a liability takes money out of your pocket every month. So next time you're making a purchase, just think about, is this an asset or a liability? Do whatever you're gonna do, but think about that. Now, there's nothing wrong with going out and buying a new pair of shoes, but just realize that this is purely an expense. And when you start to think about every single purchase you make that way, your purchases will change just by understanding this idea and actually thinking about it. And this gets super important as we get into some of the bigger purchases. Like for most people, their car is only taking money from their pocket every single month. There's the sticker price, gas, maintenance, insurance, the tires, all the other expenses. Owning a car is just a outflow of money. So you should really think about that when you're making that decision. If you calculate all the little costs that you never even think about, way more than you think. And that's why me and my wife have had one car for the past 4 years. When you add up all the monthly expenses, it's insane. Now, a house can either be an asset or a liability. If it's a single family home you plan to live in, you really need to do your research. Like, what type of returns do you think you can get on the property? Is the neighborhood improving or is it declining? Of course, there's gonna be maintenance. I just spent $7,000 last week replacing a fence that was falling down. So you need to calculate in the long term, is this going to make me money? Because with what you're paying in interest to the bank, it's probably gonna be like double the price anyways. And that's why something that I've been doing for the past 6 years is something called house hacking, where I buy multifamilies, I live in one unit, I rent the other ones out. The rents from those units cover all of the mortgage, taxes, and insurance, allowing me to live for free. And then when I move on to the next property, I can start making income from the one I just left, and I'm on my third one right now. This took something that could have been my biggest liability, the biggest suck of cash out of my life, and turned it into something that actually adds money to my life. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that we're not going to cover here, but it's so important to just know that that's an option. Monitor your finances.
Yeah, assets versus liability. We all know that a lot of us, we have a lot of liabilities. Assets are slim, especially when you're first starting out. Okay? I know for me, I have a lot more liabilities than I do assets at this point. That's okay. I'm just starting out. But one thing that I need to do is definitely realize what's an asset in my life and what's a liability. And balance those so that my liabilities don't overweigh me in the market per se. Because if you have too many liabilities, when something goes wrong, and yes, something will go wrong because balancing it happens. When something goes wrong and you're over leveraged because you have too many liabilities, which all of us do, that's what happens. That's what happens. It goes bad. So being able to balance those assets and liabilities 100% is something that you need to do. So understanding what's an asset and what's a liability in your life, mark it down. That way you can keep them balanced, especially at this young age. Because just know you're going to have way more liabilities at this stage. Just off you have to live. You have to live than you will a lot of assets.
Whether we like it or not, money is one of the biggest parts of our lives, and actually keeping an eye on it and understanding it is so important when it comes to reaching your financial goals, getting to that 1% nobody else can get to. And it's not just as simple as like checking account balances every few months, setting up a budget once and then never doing it again. You should be investing the time to make a real financial plan and then continually reevaluating that plan, seeing what you can improve, how you can make it better.
Because more money won't actually solve most people's problems. The more money they have, the more money they spend. After they build up their initial emergency, they don't know what their next step should be. Should it be paying off debt, starting investing? Which one's going to get them to financial freedom faster? I personally like this kind of lean financial independence approach, where it starts with an emergency fund, paying off high interest consumer debt, building up a little bit more of an emergency fund so that you can have more options to maybe pursue higher jobs, which is what I did, or start investing. I personally invested into real estate, but there's a ton of avenues that you can go. But investing $100 or $1,000 generally isn't going to make that much of a difference. You need to make big changes in your life to make big changes in your life. A financial tool that I've been using recently is called WiseFi. It's not a sponsor, but there is an affiliate link down below. And it is literally built to help you build a financial plan for financial independence. They follow a very similar 4-step plan to what I do. They show what you're doing now and what would happen if you changed and kind of followed their approach. And I think the most important thing is taking a step back and realizing that every decision that you make is going to impact your life, drastically down the road. Not making that job transfer, buying a home versus renting, paying off that home early versus not. All of these decisions drastically change your future. And the thing is, there's no one size fits all. What's right for a 20-year-old is wrong for a 50-year-old. And that's why I'm always trying to learn more and kind of have like a growth mindset.
The important thing is to really take your finances seriously, because you're literally trading your life for money. And so many people let money destroy them. They stress about it. It becomes this huge, horrible thing in your life. You need to invest the time into reading books, into creating budgets, into not only watching, but taking action on videos that you're watching, because it will really improve your day-to-day life, your happiness levels. But seriously, it's improved my life so much by obsessing about improving my finances and not wasting money on crap that I don't need, and actually investing it into buying back my life. Try to buy back your life. That's all I got to say. I'll see you next week.
Having a financial plan was the last one. Having a financial plan was definitely the last one. And having a financial plan is great, so that you have a plan for your money. Okay, I want to beat down my student loans. I want to add a lot more money into investing at this point. Or I want to save up some money so that I can start a business, so that I can buy a house. Things like that. So having a financial plan is definitely important. And you probably should do that before you even start your budget. That way you know where you're going to allocate your different funds to. So this was cool. This was very simple. I feel like its steps could have been more aligned. It could have been more aligned. But other than that, this is the basic 1, 2, 3s of getting your mind right and where to start with your money, which is something that we all need. We all can take from that the basic 1, 2, 3s of your money, where to spend it, how to spend it, things like that, how to think about money. It all works. It all works. But the biggest thing now, let's say, is get your mindset right and start implementing these things. Get the knowledge and then start implementing these things into your life. Start setting up those systems. That way it gets easier down the road for you. It gets easier down the road for you. And, you know, we can all, I can say all the little one-liners, 10% to yourself first, have a budget, you know, have a financial plan, all those things, yes, they matter. So start getting yourself right, start setting those things up now, and let's get to it. Man, if you with us, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment on your way out the door.